Hello, ladies, and welcome to Her Opinion. I am so glad that y'all came today. I have some special guests. My friend, Elvia. Elvia is the owner of Texas Trade School or
Texas Technical Trade School.
Technical Trade School.
It's a tongue twister.
Yeah. And I probably get it wrong if I try anyway. So, and Jaleesa, so I just met you through Instagram, and I love your page, by the way. I've been following and kind of been like, oh, Lord, she knows. Because I was like, today is a weird day. And then I went to your page, and I was like, oh, my gosh, I have to have her on the show. So thank you for being here.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
So your background, go ahead and tell us your background.
Oh, I feel like I've lived like 20 lifetimes. Well, I'll just say I was a teacher, public school teacher for quite a long time, like started in like 2009.
Okay.
And I also worked in the music world, simultaneously, starting in like radio and then working like concerts and music festivals while I was teaching as well. And then now I'm an astrologer.
What age were you teaching?
High school.
High school.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
That's
I mean,
a
I've done
little
all
bit
grades.
difficult.
Yeah,
That's
I've done like
That's
all grades.
tough. I
But
see how you got into astrology.
Yeah.
Where people start thinking of the meaning of life after.
Getting rid of these kids.
Yeah, no, that's what I was doing my last year. We were all into astrology and talking about it. Yeah, because those kids are into that.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
And Elvia?
Well, my name is Sylvia Quintanilla, and I founded Texas Technical Trade School under the state of Texas 4 years ago. But I've been doing I've been in this field for about 13 years now, and I was a young adult when I started to pursue this career. And it was not because I pursued it; is like life brought me into it as a single mom, as a young adult that went through the obstacles of the education system and got myself scholarships. I saw how it did not look. They say one thing, but it's harder to do those things that they say. So I had the opportunity when COVID hit, people were closing their schools. I opened up mine, and I haven't looked back since then. We expanded already 5 times, and we're just excited to continue to help the generation with hands-on training in the trades.
Which I love that about you. I think you are truly blessed, friend. I see what you do in the community, and it's great. I love how you reach out in the schools and go talk to the youth, the ones that are lost a lot of times. I think we lose out on the ones that are not going to college and not doing what they're supposed to do, that they say they're supposed to do. And how important is trade in everyday life.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I
Go ahead. No, you're fine.
And I really like how you do pay attention, not only while they're in your school, to actually guide them after school.
Yes.
Because that's something that a lot of trade schools don't do. Like they'll teach you in the school and then they're like, bye, you know, but you actually give them direction. You have doors that you can open for them and things like that.
I think that's the mom in me, that I bring that aspect to entrepreneurship, to the school system. Usually, I'm one of the only Latinas to own a trade school in Houston, Texas, the size of my school.
Yeah.
So as a male-dominant field, but as a mom, I'm able to empathize with my students and where they're at and understand that aspect of them. But as a businesswoman, I'm also understand that there's a time crunch for them to go to work. There's an expectation. There's how much they're supposed to earn, what their life look like. And me being able to understand all those aspects, I'm able to help them a lot faster because it's not just the trade, it's the soft skills that come with trades. And if they can be a well-rounded individual, they're going to be blessed with whatever trade they go into.
Right.
And looking at your page, I see not only a lot of men there, but also women.
Oh, yes.
Which I think is so cool.
Yes. And stay tuned because there is some good things coming in October for Breast Cancer and Domestic Violence Month for women. Awesome. And I have a special thing, and I'll have you guys share it for me whenever we have everything solidified. But it's going to be a great opportunity for women in the trade. And, that's what it's about is you understand the demographic. You are that demographic, and then giving back to your community because God's blessed you enough to have this opportunity. And I guess I understand that I wouldn't be here without God. I wouldn't be here without every time an opportunity has presented, I've been able to try to deep dive into it a little bit more because before I was like, man, I work so hard, and now I'm like, no, there's some things that I work hard for, but it's just so much of a coincidence that you're like, there's more here than it's my purpose. I'm supposed to do these things.
Maybe the stars are aligning.
Exactly. Same way.
How much time do we have?
Well, that leads me over your way because I think, I fell into that of kind of studying the birth chart and things like that. And I always look at people and I'm like, girl, she must be or she must be like a sign or something like that. And I'm like, I'm able to read people that way. And that led me to go into astrology. And then I learned, oh my God, I'm all of the signs of a Scorpio. And also I learned how to deal with my own self because I think there's an importance there.
Yeah.
But the birth chart gets really deep. Tell us about that and explain a little bit how we can learn more about it.
Yeah,
Especially somebody that doesn't know.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to piggyback off what you said because I'm, a former public school teacher, and I started off like, if I love school, then all children should love school, and you should love it as much as I do. And so I would get very frustrated when they wouldn't work how I worked or did whatever. And so, my eyes are now open to the scam that is public school. I did a whole YouTube video on it of how, kids just get passed along or get forced to go to college, and they're not all wired for it. They cannot concentrate. They don't have, everybody doesn't have that energy in them to have a routine.
It kind of kills the creative mind.
It does. It does. And everybody knows what they are good at or what they want to do. So those welding and all those kind of classes, they love being in there. Nobody wants to go to math if you don't want to, if you're an art person, so those kind of things. So, now looking at the birth chart, because I have, former students who follow me and stuff, and then I'll see their chart and see, in the areas of learning, of early schooling, why they had more difficulty. And learning your birth chart can tell you, essentially you're not doing life wrong because we're all being funneled one way. And so if you're getting out of that, you don't like school, something's wrong with you. You don't go to college, something's wrong with you. And so looking at that now, it helps people kind of solidify they are going the right way. You're always going to go the right way. Every decision is the right decision. No matter if it doesn't turn out the way you want it to, you're supposed to go that way. So looking at somebody's chart, looking at the kid's chart, that's why I want to teach astrology in schools, open up a school of astrology or teachers, so they can understand, like, maybe you can't just not go to school right now just because of how the system's set up, but the teacher can understand, like, okay, well, maybe I can do, like, art. They can do art and get this project done with art or something like that. And so when it comes to things like career, and I do career consultations, it's not to say, oh, you need to be this. It's more of like you have the gift of creativity, you have the gift of science, you have the gift of whatever, and then confirming to them, like, you're good at that. So do that thing. You have entrepreneurship energy, those kind of stuff like that. So that's what I do when I look at charts. Because people are like, tell me what I should do. I'm like, no, you know what you should do.
Right.
You know what you're good at. You just need that confirmation of, like, okay, I am supposed to do this. And so that's kind of what I teach people. Like, you're not doing life wrong if you didn't do the college thing, because society makes you feel like you're dumb.
Right.
That's a fact.
Yeah, like if you didn't do it that way. But I used to be that. I always say I used to be that teacher. I used to be like, if you don't go to college, you're gonna work at McDonald's. I used to say all that.
I mean, we've all kind of said that. I mean, we all kind of
still say it. I know, I still say it.
We still say it, but at the same time, I mean, whether you were a child, a parent, you have, there's something missing there, and it's making people feel uncomfortable to step outside the box. And that's not okay. Yeah. Because we all need to live outside the box. There's no box. Why should we be in a box? Yeah. And that's society putting us in one. And I think that's just horrible to teach kids. Yeah. It's the wrong way to be. It's always teaching them that they can't think the way they want to think. And, it becomes programmed, right? We become programmed.
Yeah, and I think that is why the depression and mental health has gone skyrocket with our generations that are younger, because when I talk to my students, I am blessed enough to work with a lot of young adults that they like our school. They, they see the dynamic there. They feel welcome. They feel at home because it's small classes. It's hands-on. It's engaging. And for a kinesthetic learner, that's everything, because they're not. They don't just listen and be able to adapt. They have to physically touch and see and hear for them to really resonate with this thing. And whenever students are I can see it in our school when our teachers are teaching them, and literally that light bulb turns on and they're able to do that project, their whole demeanor changes. Yeah. They're just like, I was able to accomplish something with my hands. They feel confident. They feel smarter. They instantly get a boost of energy, and that's what kinesthetic learners need. Because when they're reading, it doesn't stick, and they're just feeling dumb. And I told them, I'm like, just like you said, it's so awesome that you are able to talk about that, because people sometimes look at me a little weird in the trades because I'm like, what's your personality style? Your personality style, are you creative? Are you talkative? Are you shy? Are you an introvert? Which all of that is tied into who you are, if you're a Leo, all of those things. I mean, I'm a Leo. I love communication. That is what I do.
My dad's a Leo.
Yeah,
mom's a Leo.
Talking
we
to
like to
everybody.
be in front of the show.
She likes it. Yes, they like the attention.
We do,
And drama.
and I love to ruffle feathers in the trade. I like to be unorthodox. I like to be seen for. I like to think outside the box, and I like for others to start thinking outside the box. And I'm like, it's not always just black and white, guys.
Right.
Sometimes you can think outside the box, and if the goal is met, then you accomplish what you needed.
Which it takes, people like us who know this already to rebuild them back
Yes.
up because what's tore somebody down and program them to think a certain way puts them back into that box.
Exactly.
And it's sad because as kids we're not that way
No.
till we get to school and we get, have to go through the system the way it's taught us to be. And I think that's the hard part because trying to make, an adult now believe that you can do this, you're capable of these things,
It's
and
hard
to
enough
find
itself.
that inner self that they always had, but they just had to push it away is, I think, the hardest thing because definitely I feel like in my 40s, like light bulbs went off for me. And I think that's why you see a lot of people in their 40s come into their passion and find what they're supposed to do and feel like now I'm working something that I love. Like, or they go through that midlife crisis and
This
they want
is
to
my
make
passion.
a change.
I
Right.
was just trying to survive, trying to make a life what society thought
Yes,
what life
exactly.
was. But we have forgotten that, okay, you can build such a great company, you can have money, you have equity, you have all these things, but when you're gone, who are you as a person,
Right.
and what are you striving for? What's important to you? And sometimes as Americans, I can only speak for here because I live here. Is like we get consumed in our job, and
Right.
that's our identity. And I struggle with it too. I'm like, but what am I outside of me helping people? Me, being a mom, me being a business owner. What is and a lot of our students are not, well, in the education system, they're not taught to sit and think for themselves. They're taught to do things and just check boxes, do tasks, laborious things. And I'm like, no, you're not just, you have your own mind, and you should be able to advocate for yourself. So I would love for us to see more of that, and with all of these integrations, we're able to do it because students are able to talk about different things and not just, well, I was supposed to go to college, I didn't do it, I'm going to be a failure. No, you're not. There's a lot of great successful people.
Kind of change the dynamic here a little bit, and I'm going to go a little bit edgier. And I'm going to say that because of how we're raised to be and those things, I think people, when they see or hear astrology, they have the fear of, oh no, that's not, my religion says that's not right, or these things.
Yeah, I was like, don't get me started.
And yeah, so I grew up in religion like no tomorrow, let me tell you, from Catholic to Christian to label. And as I got older, I realized that it was another system. It was another situation. Like I'm spiritual. I always say I'm spiritual. I have a one connection with God, myself. I believe that we have lots of power within us that has, again, been boxed in. And so astrology doesn't scare me. That's not something, because it brings all of the things that we're talking about out that they told us we weren't supposed to do, we weren't supposed to have. So I think people have to understand and look at it differently from the way they have told us it's bad, it's wrong. We're not talking about curses and rituals and things like that, which is like, listen, you want to dive into that? Go ahead. That's a little bit past
I think just building on that, what people really are fearful for, that they're going to depend more on that instead of more on that.
And then I think that has to do with yourself.
With yourself, yeah. So I think that's where people see that it's wrong because they depend on it so much. Oh, I'm not even going to go outside until I do this or that. It gets, it's too drastic on one side. There has to be a balance.
Yeah. Well, I think you have to, there's a difference though, because some people don't believe the way you believe. So if that's what they believe, they put 100% focus on that. Like I said, I believe in God, so mine has a balance of what I do or what but I think
it has to be a balance.
Yeah, well, no, but that's what I'm saying. It has to be a balance for you. If you believe in that. You see what I'm saying?
What is your balance?
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's my
the
point.
balance in you.
Yeah, and I do think people get, they don't, I have people will say, well, you need to trust God. And I'm like, well, who do you think made you like this? Like, It is the same thing. You know, I understand that there are people on YouTube who do like, you know, it looks, obviously I wear this headpiece just more for like, because I'm just extra. But it's like, you
It's
know.
the sign.
Yeah, it's an Aquarius. I want to be different. But it is like, you know, you'll see the magic or the this or that, whatever. And it all ties in together. It's just the way that people display it is different. Yes, religion. I was very into church and would look at people. I can't believe you're not at church on Sunday. Like, how dare you? You know, my mom's a Sagittarius. You know, Sagittarius is the sign of spirituality, philosophy, religion. You know, they follow some kind of cult-like system, and so I have a lot of Sag energy in me.
So that's why my son is in the cult gaming.
They're just it can be tied to all of those things, and so. You know, people do get all freaked out and stuff, and so they'll tell me, I rely on God, not the stars. And I'm like, well, who made the stars? You know, like
That's how I felt. God made
keep going. Yeah, like I keep going with people. Like they think it's two separate things. But I've gotten so deep into it, like I can literally see like how a life will play out because I've seen so many themes, so many charts, so many patterns, like, oh, you're born on this day, this is the path that you're going to go on. And I don't think people understand the depth of it, too. They think it's just like, oh, I'm this, and that's it. Or they don't believe it because they think, well, I heard this about it, and that's not how I am. But when you look at a birth chart, you'll see numbers and lines and, you know, and things in different areas. Like, that's all going to change the path. It's just more of a general theme.
My question, what is like a birth chart? I'm sorry. I'm like...
A birth chart essentially is, you know, needing your day, the day you're born, you know, the year, the time, the place. And then when you look at the chart, you will see essentially planets in different houses. And the houses, there's 12 different ones, and that's 12 different areas of life. And so, you know, y'all two could be born same day, same time, but in two different cities, and it will be completely different. But essentially that it'll show you, like, where your energy is most prominent. That's at the most basic level.
So it's like a chart already, like, written out. You
yeah,
just
like,
kind of...
you know, I've done charts
Sorry,
for...
I'm just
no,
it's deep. It's a lot. So
Yeah,
you would put in so your name, your birth date, your time, and the city, right?
Yeah.
And then it just gives you, like, it's almost like a graph kind of, right? And then it breaks down and then how does it break it down, I guess, is the question.
Yeah.
Well, really, I mean, it goes so deep. I've done charts for, like, newborns, you know. Essentially, you can see how the mother will be, how the father will be, or if they will or will not have a father or mother present in their life. You know, all those things are seen from that. So it is that's the part that I think also kind of scares people because they're like
you're telling the future.
Almost, right? Yeah. So you know, when I do chart readings with my clients, I do send like questionnaires for them, and I tell them, "What do you want me to tell you?" Because I'm not going to just tell you stuff. I attract like-minded people who share my alignments. Like, I think that's just how God just kind of aligns me with people who share my same exact placement, so I can tell them what this looks like. But because I'm an overthinker, like, I don't want to tell someone something. I've just come to the
some people don't want to know too much.
Yeah.
Also, it's scary. I can see that.
And I'm like, that's cool. Like, I don't focus on, like, you know, fatalistic type of stuff. But, you know, if you have it in your mind that you want to be a billionaire and you might be a six figures, you know, maybe or something like that, you know, those kind of things kind of, you know, you got to bring it down, like, practically with people. It's like, you just have delusional energy. You got Pisces, you got Sagittarius, you know, so that kind of helps people understand why they think the way that they do or act the way that they do. And yeah, it gives you a lot of reality checks. I've had a lot of, I wanted to be a backup dancer for J-Lo. I wanted to be an anesthesiologist. I wanted to be all these things. And, you know, I never thought astrologer, you know, so kind of just life just takes you where you're supposed to go.
Read your chart. You're like, no, I don't think I'm going to be a backup dancer.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, no. I mean,
it all makes sense.
But you understand why you have the, you know, the energy of wanting to dance or art or something like that. But for it to choose you, it's like you said, like, it chose you. Astrology chose me for some reason. But now I understand why. You know,
and yeah, that's all. And I mean, I've always believed, and that's just me. Maybe I'm just cuckoo over here, but we're aligned.
She is cuckoo.
We're aligned. Yeah, we're aligned. We're supposed to go, you know, this way, but how we get there is upon us. You know, and maybe sometimes it takes a little longer to get there, but the longer you take, it's because you're making the wrong decisions over and over. Well, not the wrong,
So
but
maybe
you're
it just
learning.
helps people guide, like, am I going the right direction? Am I not going the right direction?
Yeah.
Learn more
You
about
know,
themselves.
learn more about themselves.
in a deeper level.
Or why you
Yeah.
keep hitting a wall also,
Yeah.
too, I
Yeah.
think helps you.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, every decision is essentially the right decision. Whether you want to, if you started school, you dropped out, like you're supposed to do that, because in your chart it will tell you will have a break in your higher education. There will be some kind of pause that will happen. So every little decision you can see in the chart because every time is stamped. When you look at the chart, you open it up. But I personally don't look at mine. I like to be present, But I do see synchronicities. I'll hear you say, oh, I'm born on this day. And I'm like, boom, so-and-so, same birthday. And then so I'll start to get all these numbers and things going all the time.
Right.
But yeah, it gets very, very deep. Things like love. It's a big one for people. Or why am I single? When am I going to be?
Yeah.
They want timing. They want all this, but your chart will tell you this is going to be your person, and they're going to act like this, and they're going to be like this, and these are the experiences you might have. And so that's the practicality of it. Helps you not feel like you're doing something wrong. I've had a lot of love experiences, but my chart told me why. So it just kind of, when you see a pattern repeat, you're just like, that was supposed to happen. Like I had work beef all the time. Work beef was like a thing for me. And now I learned I'm not supposed to be in a job because I'll just be fighting people all the time.
Yeah.
So,
After you realize it was all signs.
yeah, and after I'm like, hold on, so when you see it happen, you just kind of let it go. You don't get so frustrated. You're just like, well, that's just supposed to happen in my life, and it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Everything has its positive and negative, and, I think people just think life is supposed to be perfect and linear and nothing, and
Yeah.
that ain't it.
And
That's not
and
true.
it falls back into, like we said, we've been so structured to think in a box and not really follow our heart. And when I'm always inner spirit. I'm always inner spirit for everything. If it don't feel right here, it's not right, and I need to walk away, or I know this is not a place I'm supposed to be. And so that's how I've always been. And it's sometimes it's a little slow, but
Yeah.
but it really, has put me in the places that I needed to be. And I feel like now that the older I get, the wiser I get, and I make better decisions,
Yeah. You say you're Scorpio?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's water,
know.
it's intuition,
Yeah.
And people don't understand that they have those things. I had some girls like, oh my gosh, like started crying because she was like, I knew I had some,
Yes.
people think I'm crazy. Like I said I was psychic, and everyone's like, what's
Thank
wrong
you.
with you? So it just confirms like, yes,
100%.
you do have that gift.
Yes.
You have that gift.
That's exactly, I think, how I drive them crazy with myself. I'm like, guys, listen, look at this. Look at this.
I was like, I can look at it, but it's gonna take me some time, and then I'm
Yeah.
gonna go in the rabbit hole, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I gotta do all these other things.
know.
But it's intriguing. It's definitely very connected.
Yeah.
I'm open to it. I was telling her that because I grew up, that was just something that you don't do, you don't touch. But, like even when Jesus, when he was born, they were following, it was an astrologer following the star to where he was at. So I know that the stars have something to do with it.
Yeah.
It's just that closed-mindedness of a lot
Yeah.
of people that are not open to it.
Yeah, and I think when you understand why and who kind of structures religion and all that kind of stuff, like if I know that your birthday will tell you you're going to be like this or what your weakness will be, then I can play on that. You won't know that, but I'll know that. And so I'll know how to manipulate you
Right.
based off of your weakness or what the patterns that you're going to be repeating. So stuff like these medications and things like that,
Right.
people don't understand that everything happens in cycles. Only a few months, only a few years or whatever, and they think they're going to live in it forever, all that kind of stuff. So when you look at the bigger system of who's blocking us from looking at this stuff and why did they manipulate it to be bad when all you're doing, or at least what I do, is just help people understand their behaviors with anything, and even people who are hypersexual, all these kind of things, like that's how they were born, but you find balance in everything that you do. If you're too aggressive, like, yeah, that's your gift because that's how you're going to have to use it somehow. But if you're doing it too much, you could turn people off,
Have control.
Yeah, like learn how to balance everything, but there's no wrong way to do life. I had to undo that mindset because I was churchy, very churchy. You know, you're doing bad and you shouldn't be doing that. But now I look at everything like, that's just how they are. Like, there's like no judgment of any, like, you can tell me any story. I'd be like, oh, that's cool. Like, nothing.
It's the judgment, you know, the judgmental inside of us. Because growing up traditionally, especially
just how you grow up.
especially Hispanics. Well, I'm Hispanic.
Yeah.
She's Hispanic.
Yep.
You're
But
Hispanic.
just you're Hispanic too. How we grew up, and it was always judgmental. Our parents were always just like, you know, everything. You're
Well,
getting
then
too
they
much weight.
and they
your
put the fear
hair.
in us.
They put the fear in
And
it.
then your mind starts questioning who you really are because
Yeah.
you're like, well, this is what they said I'm supposed to be
Yeah.
and look like, but
Yeah.
I feel this other person.
And we're
you
supposed
know.
to be skinny, but our whole culture
I know.
doesn't.
That was the thing
That
too.
tortilla
That
does
was
not-
another
does not
thing
help.
too.
You
That's
know-
just something I learned
Yeah,
too.
but I think also too is how we're taught about like religion and God, and not to get too deep in that because this is not something going against it. I think we have to learn how to maneuver through it. And I think when you deal with different religions, and because my background is 2 different religions from my mom and my father's side, the story is kind of the same in all of them. But why do we have so many?
Yeah.
Well, it just is a division. It's a division of people trying to, you know, always
Have
keep
their own
people
minds,
divided.
their
and
thought process
Yeah,
is
it's
So
different.
it's better to have a relationship, like you said, a spiritual relationship with God, because
Relationship
that
with
is
God.
a intimate relationship that you can only understand, that you can only feel. And once you have that feeling, there's no question there's a God, you know? And that's where some people are very in disbelief about who he is and what he does because they believe in the religion part of it, which people are
Yes.
always gonna have mistakes. They're human. They're not perfect. God is the only. So when you have that relationship with Him and you actually see what He does for your life and you see how He blesses or puts you in alignment in your purpose in life, you're just like, you can. I mean, in my sense, I'm like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to do these things that I am doing.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to. But because I have the courage that comes from Him and I'm able to
because
speak on
he
it.
is within you.
Yeah, within me.
He's within
Yeah,
you.
So it's
then
not
I'm
about-
able to
Yeah.
show up as
Yeah.
my authentic self and not be. I am scared, but still do it because it's not about me. It's about my community.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like
Right. It's
I
about
want them
others.
to succeed.
And I don't even care if you don't believe in God because it's about helping others. At the end of the day, who you believe in, it's about helping others. And I
Exactly.
think we've seen that the older we get, the more you help others, what comes from that is like nothing. Money can't give you that.
peace that nobody
it's
can-
like
yeah.
the joy. And I mean, I gravitate more towards people who are trying to do that, to give back and things like that the older I get. And again, that probably comes with an alignment of where you're supposed to be in life and things like that.